Hello and welcome to the next Good Game Empire video. This is the first part of PvP series, which will include 5 videos in total, and in this first part I will cover many useful tips for a fight against other players, as well as very good habits to have during combat, which are very important and are going to increase your skills very much and are going to overall be very profitable for you and for your combat, like loses and all the stuff like that. Okay, so let's start with the basics. A bird player in your alliance. This is total basic and you just have to have this player in your alliance. It's basically an account where a beginner's protection mode is activated and you can send your offensive, sometimes also defensive units to there, for example overnight or during attack on your castle, and you can hide them here so you don't lose them in combat. It's also a very good habit to have such a player in your alliance bookmarks as a support request player, and you can also put him as a treasurer in your alliance position. I see this very common in different servers and in different alliances, so you can do this as well to make it easier for your players to station their troops here. Also, what is important about such a player is that when the bird ends, you need to wait 24 hours and then launching it will take another 24 hours, so it's gonna be 48 hours without this protection mode. So you should already start activating it 20 hours before it runs out on the previous account, and you should in total use 2 accounts for this to have it all the time active in your alliance. It's gonna be very, very important. So you have the bird player in your alliance, and what do you do after this? Well, it's here to protect your troops. So for example overnight, or when you're going out of your home, or you're not going to be online on the game but you know that you can fall under attack, you should send all your troops which you don't want to be used for defending your castle, which is usually only the offensive troops, out of your castles to the bird player. So mark all the offensive troops and send them to the bird player. Also, I suggest to make a commander which lowers costs of this travel if you have many troops, and to use the feature in your Hall of Legends to make the travel cost 1/10 than usually. I would pay here 1,000,000 coins, and right now it's only 100,000, or I would say it's a lot, because if you do this regularly you need to consider this price and maybe use commanders which lower this to 0 if you have minus 100% of the travel cost. Okay, so another useful habit when you are under attack but only 1 or maybe 2 of your castles are under attack, not all of them, then you can split your defenders from different castles and send them to the castles where you are under attack. Because remember, if there is more defenders, this means that there are gonna be less loses, so you're gonna save up some of your defenders, and you can use this to wisely split your troops and make yourself save more units. So the very next tip: if your castle is under attack, you should inform your alliance mates about this fact. So you need to tell them that you are online and how many minutes is left for this attack to come to your castle, so they can check if they are able to send this support to you or they are going to be late and they can't do that. It's very important, and the faster you do this, the more support you can possibly get. So always remember, if you need support for the attack, then write in the chat as fast as you see the attack. Just write a very simple and short message, but remember to include everything which is important. So you just ask about the support, you tell which castle and how many minutes is left, and that's all the players need to know. So if you decide to send defenders to support your alliance mate, first you should check if their castellan is good enough and if they have defensive tools set up on their walls. If not, then you're gonna get very high losses and it's probably not profitable for the alliance. And usually if this is such a situation, typically alliances are not going to support players who don't have good castellan, especially if the castellan is very, very weak, for example without any courtyard bonus, or if there is no tools on the wall. So you just go on and check the player, make a espionage on his castle, check the castellan quickly, and if he has proper tools on the wall. As you can see, the castellan is very good enough and he has the tools on the wall. Also, when you are sending support to the alliance, any alliance castle, remember to split your defenders and never send all of your troops from your castle. I suggest to you to leave at least 1/3 of your troops in your castle and send maximally like 2/3 of the troops you have in the castle. Because if you are going to send like all the units you have, then you might have a problem when you are under attack and you don't have enough time to call them back to your castle, and you don't have time to send troops from any other castles, especially if your outposts are far away from each other and from your main castle. This is such a problem that you need to consider that, and to split your defenders. For example, leave some of them on your castle and send the rest to support the alliance player. When you need to support a target but you are under pressure of time, you need to remember that different defenders have different speeds, and you have to consider this while supporting a player. For example, Ruby defenders have different speed than mid defenders, and the Ruby speed is way slower because, as you can see, when you put only Ruby, it's 8 hours, and when you put, for example, mid defenders, it's 6 hours. Obviously it's going to be faster because of the travel, yeah, but there's such a huge difference, and you can see this in the unit statistics, because here we have 34 travel speed for the mid defenders and only 25 travel speed for the Ruby defenders. This is very huge gap, and you need to remember that if you want to it's better to be on the time with less supporters than to not be on time with more supporters, because at the end there is 0 supporters if you don't get there on the time. During war, it's very important to keep your alliance updated about what happened on your castles, so about your attacks and your defenses, because if you send very good attack and defense reports, your alliance morale is going to be higher. Okay, so the alliance improvements are a key point during combat. Well, they're giving you a very huge advantage during fight, and you need to consider upgrading them as well as using the temporary ones to boost your possibilities during combat as well. So let's start with the support travel speed. This one is a permanent bonus, which means that you need to upgrade it once and it's going to stay forever. So you need to obviously push it to the max, which is 390%, and it's going to speed up your supporting units a lot. So the second bonus which you need to consider is also a permanent bonus, is the attack travel speed bonus. It works only against the players in alliances who you have declared war on. It doesn't work on neutral targets. So it gives you plus 100% to travel speed, and it's going to speed up the travel against war enemies a lot. There are also two very important combat strength bonuses for attack and defense, which are temporary bonuses, and it's not cheap to activate them. So you get them for 30 minutes only, and this costs you, as you can see, a few million resources from your alliance treasury. So it's a good point to tell you that it's super important to keep your treasury full. It's going to pay back, especially during combats, because you're going to have enough resources to launch these bonuses, and you just need to put all resources during Nomad invasion or Berimont invasion and fill your treasury up to 2 billion wood and stone, as well as collect rubies and pay coins into the treasury to have enough resources to launch these temporary effects. And the last temporary effect, also very important during war, it's usually constantly activated, is the bonus travel on the support, which gives additional 300%, and it's a huge difference because often it's a matter of minutes or even seconds to be on the time or not, and this is going to help you a lot in many situations. So this is usually activated all the time during wars in the alliances. Another thing which is super important is a night guard. It's basically a person who is observing the situation on the map and in the alliance during night when there's no one else on the game. There might be such a situation, so you need to consider telling someone to stay up during night and check what's going on. And if there's any attack coming, they should call the players on their phones, call the player and inform that they have attacks, or send some text messages, just inform. There is also a pretty useful tip here. You can try to get to your alliance someone who is in a different time zone. So it's gonna be night for all the players, but day for this one person, and you can then easily have shifts for him, and it's not going to be difficult because of the night for anyone in your alliance. If a huge attack is coming to your castle, and with recent updates you can see like 11 or even 12,000 units in a single attack, sometimes it's just a matter of not a possibility to defend this attack, or it's not gonna be war for you, and sometimes your alliance mates cannot be on the time with support, or you don't have enough troops to defend this attack. So just don't try to defend it all the time. If you know that chances are low and you shouldn't do that, just don't do that. So there are two options when you don't want to defend your castle. You can open the gate. You can do this by going to the King's Market, and in the fourth tab other, you can open the gate. So this means that you are automatically going to lose the battle, but the buildings are not going to be on fire, though you're going to lose your honor points, and you can lose all the resources from your castle. So remember to don't have minuses when opening the gate, but this is pretty useful when you don't want your castle to be set on fire in the situation where you are not able to defend such an attack. But remember that this feature is going to get more expensive every time you launch it. So in such a situation there's also a second option, which is called a anti-fire castellan, and this reduces the damage or fire damage suffered when defending, and you should try to get this parameter to the maximum, which is 75%, or you can get even more, but you're going to get anyway only the maximum value, as well as the value from the hero, because the value from the hero is not counting as a maximum, so it's going to add to this 75, so we have 85%, and this is going to protect your castle pretty well against attacks, and therefore you don't need to open your gate. You only need to move all your troops out of the castle to the bird player, so you have 0 troops on the castle. You let the enemy in, but you have the anti-fire castellan, which means that you're not going to be set on fire. So during war or combat, what units should you recruit? Well, the better option is going to be recruiting the defenders, because they not only consume your food, they also provide protection to your castles, and as well you are able to send them to support your alliance mates, which is very important during wars. You should always pay attention to the ratio of units you hold, so you can see a good summary of attack and defense units in your castle here, and it's very important to keep most of your units as defenders, at least half of them, but I would suggest to you to have more of this, especially if you don't have a lot of units. For example, here in my worst castle with lowest production, I don't have this many units, only 47,000, so the most of them is defenders, and like the totally basic amount, the minimal amount of defenders you should have is, I would say, 15 or even 20,000, because now it's very hard to defend against the biggest attacks, but even against the smaller attacks it's important to have more defenders, like this minimal amount, to have less losses. And later, if you are able to hold like 15,000 or 20,000 defenders, you can think about holding also some offensive units in such castles. There is one problem with players who are close to you on the world map, because you see, when it comes to the war, they can attack you and it can be unspotted. Also, your alliance mates can have not enough time to react and send your troops, so you rely only on your own castles and your own capabilities. Well, the general rule is that the short distance on the map is less than 50 clicks. So if there is such a player on a war in this distance from your castle, you can either make a gentle decision to not attack each other before the war or when the war starts, or you can make a aggressive decision to attack this player so he loses his troops first before you lose them due to him attacking you, so you're gonna be protected because he just lost his troops because of your attack. A good Hall of Legends setup is crucial for the war, for a combat against other players, so remember about that. And if you want to learn more about Hall of Legends setup, you can watch my other video. It's all about the Hall of Legends. it's in the right corner of this video right there. Another very basic but also a very important rule is to have enough defensive tools in each of your castles, because you don't want to be in a situation where, for example, 5 attacks are coming into one of your castles and you don't have enough tools to put on the wall. So it's gonna be a disaster because the losses are going to be a lot higher. And well, I'm gonna show you a quick example. So here I don't have enough tools. I would say that 1,000 of each kind of tool per castle would be a good amount to be safe. You can always buy more in bestseller. I'm gonna present that in a second. So the tools you need are going to be the gate tool, which is portcullis, as well as arrow slit, fire mode, and lime powder bomb or the quick lime bomb. These ones, the black ones, are better and you can get them from special offers for rubies. And the lime powder bombs, you can get them from the Nomad shop. They are a good alternative if you don't have enough rubies, but you can always collect them from fortresses. So as you can see in this situation, I don't have enough of some tools in my castles and I would have to go and buy them from bestsellers. So you can find them over there and find the right one. And when you scroll down, you can find all the defensive tools in very good price. So it's the best place to buy the defensive tools, and you should get at least 1,000 of each of these tools for all of your castles. That's super important. You can also get yourself some lime bombs from Nomad shop. So basically you need to earn some Nomad tablets first, and then you can spend them in the Nomad invasion window in the rewards tab. You need to scroll down and go for the lime powder bombs. These are 10% weaker compared to the black lime bombs, and this is also worth it because if you don't have enough rubies for the best bombs, then this is going to be a very good alternative, which is way cheaper. And you also should have like thousands of them in each of your castle. If you can't have this many, then split them equally into all of your castles and try to have as many as possible, because this is the basics of the defense. That was everything for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm going to release the 4 more PvP guides in soon after this video. So remember to subscribe to the channel and leave a like if you enjoyed the video, or leave a dislike if you think that it was such a disaster. You can leave a comment and tell your thoughts on this video, and maybe also some suggestions to what to put in the next videos. I have a plan. They are going to be about how to set up your equipment, later how to defend, how to attack, and the last part will be how to understand battle reports, because I know that many players struggle with this and totally skip this part of the game, but this is the most important thing in Good Game Empire. So that was everything from me. Thank you very much. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video, and see you in the next one. Bye.